Section 1. A law unto itself introducing State Z's Public Safety Act. Hello America, and welcome to Last Week Tonight. Tonight, we're diving into the murky waters of constitutional law with a real-life scenario that's about as fun as a root canal without anesthetic. It all starts in the great state of Z, where lawmakers have passed a law so controversial it makes pineapple on pizza look like a stroke of culinary genius. This masterpiece of legislation, known as the Public Safety Act, PSA, grants law enforcement sweeping powers, including warrantless searches and detaining individuals without charge. A coalition of concerned citizens, led by Jane Doe, is taking the fight to court, arguing that the PSA violates their fundamental rights. Section 2, the gavel of justice. Can a federal court intervene? Let's talk judicial review. This cornerstone of our legal system allows federal courts to determine whether a law is compatible with the Constitution. State Z might argue this is their business, but the Supremacy Clause states that federal law reigns supreme. If a state law contradicts the Constitution, it's about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Jane Doe and her legal team are right to seek justice in the federal court system. They're asking the federal courts to step in and tell State Z that their PSA is about as welcome as a skunk at a picnic. But will the courts agree? That, my friends, is the million-dollar question. Section 3, power struggle, Congress versus State Z. Now let's talk about Congress, those folks who spend more time bickering than a family reunion with a history of bad blood. While State Z might think they have the final say, Congress can step in under the Supremacy Clause. Congress could pass a law specifically protecting the rights the PSA infringes upon. This would force State Z to revise the PSA or face the music in court. Of course, this hinges on whether Congress can agree on something, which is about as likely as finding a unicorn on Wall Street. But hey, a comedian can dream, can't he? Section 4. Walking the tightrope, state police powers and federal law. Before we declare this a slam dunk for Jane Doe, we need to address state police powers. This legal concept gives states the authority to regulate for the health, safety and general welfare of their citizens. State Z will argue that the PSA falls under their state police powers to keep citizens safe. But state police powers aren't a free pass to trample individual rights. The question is, does the PSA's infringement on individual rights go too far? We'll need to delve into the specific rights at stake, starting with Jane Doe's First Amendment claims. Section 5, silenced voices, restricted gatherings, Jane Doe's First Amendment challenge. Let's talk about the First Amendment, folks, that glorious piece of parchment that lets you speak your mind. Jane Doe claims that the PSA violates her First Amendment rights. The PSA restricts public gatherings and protests central to freedom of assembly. It grants law enforcement broad authority to detain individuals for expressing views deemed dangerous. State Z will argue these restrictions are necessary for public safety, but the First Amendment doesn't have a panic button. The courts will decide whether State Z's restrictions are narrowly tailored or if they're about as subtle as a sledgehammer in a china shop.